And now, WolfBytes Open Mic.
The Bass Jackers.
Just came home actually from tour.
Hey guys, this is Phoenix Paul.
Hey, what's up? This is Sean Frank.
WolfBytes DJs and your favorite artists.
Sophie Francis. Sophie, thanks for joining us today.
Hi, it's super nice to join you guys.
What's up, guys? This is Armin van Buren.
Now, Open Mic.
Welcome to another episode of WolfBytes Open Mic. Chris Lehman with you. I've got Lodato with us today. And Lodato, it's great to have you on. How you doing?
Thank you, Chris, for having me. How are you guys?
Good. And so I think just off the start, I think the obvious question is, what's been going on for the last year for you? I know you're up in New York, so it's been kind of wild.
Yes. It's been a long lockdown. Let's just say that, in the studio every day, and talking to a lot of people, socializing digitally, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So have you been in, I know you're from Queens. Have you been there the whole time?
Yes. Yep. Been no plane rides, nothing. Just locking down. So
I guess both, musically and just kind of in normal life, what are you looking forward to now? I mean, we're getting there back to normal. What are you looking forward to when we're finally there?
To seeing everything get released. I'm really excited. I got a lot of projects coming up. So it's really cool to see a song come to life, after a year of working on so many. So I'm really excited about releasing records and seeing everything come together visually, sonically, and all that. So
nice. And I'm assuming you've lived in New York your entire life, right?
Oh, I'm New York. I'm born.
So is there any sort of, to kind of get into the music side a little more, is there any sort of advantage or perk you feel like you had growing up in New York City?
I guess it's just the New York swag. Maybe, if that's, a thing, I guess, if people think it is. I guess it's the drive that New York gives you, that really helped me throughout the whole career of, like, even when, we have our ups and downs. And I think New Yorkers, we, when we're down, we still, fight to get up. So I think that's the part of the swag. I guess that's what at least I take from it,
I got you. And there were a couple of people kind of associated with New York I wanted to ask you about, just kind of that had come to mind. One of them, personally, myself, I'm a big hockey fan.
Okay.
And the New York Rangers, last year I found out, have a guy who actually likes to produce music, and Mika Zibanejad. Do you know much about that or anything?
But you know what? It's ringing a bell because my manager, Jared, is a huge New York Rangers fan. And of course, I'm the non-sports guy. And I have to hear him about, this trade happened and this and that. And I just nod my head and, pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But he actually told me, and I think someone, maybe it was like a year ago, like prior to the lockdown. I can't really remember, but I feel like someone in the camp was trying to get us connected to do a record together.
That'd be cool.
And I was like, wait, who is this person? They're a ranger and they produce records? What? Yeah, it was, I can't fully remember the story, but I know there was some sort of connection there.
Yeah, that would be cool. The other person I wanted to ask you about that came to mind for me, looking at some of your Instagram photos and things, a lot of jean jackets, a lot of leather jackets. My parents kind of raised me on Bruce Springsteen. Is there any kind of...
So yeah, there's a little Springsteen inspiration in there. Yes. Yep. Definitely. He's a rock star, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Those were the first concerts I went to. Man,
oh, wow.
He's a showman. It's great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And to get more into the music side and your music, how did you get started with music and what drew you to it?
I started out DJing, and then I felt like in the 2008 boom era, I started seeing DJs, go more towards making full songs. And I said, you know what, that seems interesting. And I went on YouTube and just started picking up some music theory, and then kind of getting into sound design and stuff like that. And now we're here. I mean, it really just was like a natural evolution, so it just kind of took on a life of its own. I, found something that I love just as much as DJing. So I figured, hey, why not? And
was it the fact that you had started out just DJing that kind of drew you to the electronic music?
Yes, definitely 100%. I love electronic music since before I was even a DJ. So it was kind of like I was buying like Tiesto albums and Bad Boy Bill albums and stuff like that. So really, I even think like maybe it was like Satisfaction by Benny Benassi, like really made me fall in love with the whole genre in one shot.
Well, and because it's really kind of a technologically based, medium, there are a lot of things that have changed over the course of the time you've been producing music. So what are some of the big changes and the big adjustments that have come with the industry?
I think the isolation, maybe, because I would sit there and collab with a lot of people earlier on, and then it became so digital with Dropbox and, making your studio anywhere type of thing, like where at the time it was maybe the computer wasn't powerful enough, so you would have a bigger computer so people would gather and stuff like that. Then the recording process changed, and then you start working with people internationally, so it just took on a way different way of making a record.
And some of the other things I think I was listening to, I guess from a couple years ago with Function, an interview where you were talking about some of the things you do just DJing and the technology there. How is that? I think there've been a lot of changes for you there as well.
Yeah, because so like with the DJing, like how it started getting into the production, it was like between those two things, there was the mashups and bootlegs. So I would go prior to, DJing, I would combine two records together or three or four like in a clip. And I found the response, for the crowd wise, it was entertaining for them to be like, wait, what just happened? Like if the drop flipped on them and stuff like that. And I then tried to incorporate that into the original records. So that's where it kind of stemmed from.
Okay, well, and let's talk about some of some of your music now. And I think you retweeted it last week. Good Thing from you and Bright Sparks.
We got it going on,
hit the top of our top 10. Can you talk a little bit about how that came together and how that song worked out?
So that was a crazy piece of history. So I, in 2017, started remixing, and I found the Tiesto Bright Sparks acapella to On My Way, did a bootleg remix, put it out on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Tiesto ended up playing it on his show and shouted me out. And like, then at that point I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest moment of my life, of course, because the Godfather himself just said my name. It came out of his mouth. And then at that point I was like, I can't understand this vocal. It's just so unique. I've never heard anything like it before. Is it a guy? Is it a girl? Is it both? I can't figure it out. And I've been bugging my manager, Jared, for probably 3 years at that time or 2, like, hey bro, we got to hit them up. Like, I want to do a record with them so bad. So right around the time of lockdown, he surprised me and said, hey, listen, I worked it out. We're going to have a collab with them, get working with them. So I'm like, oh my God, made it last March maybe. And then it now reached the top of the charts.
Well, I was watching I think it was the lyric video a little bit earlier too. It has that kind of the 90s vibe to it.
Yeah.
How did you have much role in producing that as well?
Oh yeah, I'm really. We were gonna shoot a music video, but at that time, lockdown was heavy. So we couldn't make that happen. But yeah, I really love looking at the past because I feel it could predict the future. So I try to pull things from each era, and it just had that vibe to me. It had more of a funky, older school vibe. So I kind of wanted to make the visuals like match the sound that you're hearing, kind of thing,
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah. Well, and talking about vibe, can you talk about the vibe of your latest release, Feel All My Lovin'? Because that's another one that I'm really enjoying lately too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm having fun making records, and I want people to feel that. I want something that when you go listen to a Lodato record, it's not like you're gonna hear it anywhere else, of course. And it's just I want you to feel good while listening, and I feel I'm kind of, at least I would like to think I'm accurately creating that emotion in my records right now, and feel all my love, and it's just a cool vibe,
Yeah. Well, and there was one other song too that I wanted to talk about just a little bit that I thought had a little extra meaning behind it as well, and that was "I Blame You" with Paris Hilton.
I blame you. I blame you.
Yes.
Can you talk about that? Because I think at least some of the proceeds go to Breaking Code Silence.
Yes.
So how did you get hooked up with that, and how did that all come together?
It's so crazy how the internet just works. So actually she hit me up when Good.
Let's be honest, why is it wrong when it feels so good? Wrong when it feels so good.
Went #1. And then we just started talking in the DM, and she was like, "Hey, I love your music. We'd love to get something started with you." And I was like, "Okay." And that was at the beginning of quarantine too. And we just started working. And then I was like, "Hey, listen, I really want to, I know the world is really down right now. I would love to, donate to some charities if I could. And the best way I know how to is through songs." So she was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." I have my Breaking Code Silence Foundation. And I'm like, wow, that was perfect timing. And it was just an awesome process to work with her because there was passion behind it. There was a story behind it, So I think, and at the time she was really just starting dating her fiance now, Carter. And it just kind of all tied in together naturally. And I like to think that was a beautiful process.
Nice. Well, I've heard you mentioned earlier on when we were talking about just the electronic music, the isolation with it. You also, a couple big projects come up, Bright Sparks and Paris Hilton, right as we go into lockdown. Has it felt that unnormal? Has it been kind of a normal year for you to some extent?
Dude, I was just talking about this. It's weird because it's usually when things like this happen, you could go out and say hang out with your friends and pop a bottle or something, or have a beer or whatever it may be. Or travel for that case, and I could feel the energy of the shows and the people, and I can't grab onto anything right now. So it's kind of a weird, I don't know how to describe type of thing, it's it's bittersweet, I guess, where it's I can't wait to get out into the world just to, whether it's just to go have a drink or go play a show. I can't wait to be able to quote unquote celebrate these achievements,
Yeah. And talking about playing shows, I notice you have, as a lot of artists do, the extended edition that you kind of use in your sets when you play live. How does looking at where a song may fit into a set or where you use it when you perform live, does that weigh in at all when you're producing the song?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. Yeah. Maybe subconsciously. Right? I don't know. Maybe it's something the subconscious takes control over. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean,
that just came off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, the only thing I ever think about when I'm making the extendeds is when I used to research records from, say the 90s or the early 2000s, and, especially dance culture, they always had these long versions. And I always found it interesting that they made it entertaining, during the course of it, even if it was something as very simple, a 1-bar melody or some sort. And so I was like, hey, I want to try to incorporate that into my intros, even if I'm sending it out to DJs, because I feel like we kind of are in a 15-second type of fast life pace thing. We're only entertained for 15 seconds. So it was you know what, let me try to make the extended versions a little interesting, that it never happens anywhere in the record, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Where you could kind of hear just the bass or just the guitar, soloed, and you could kind of enjoy that section, So if you do hear the extended and you're not a DJ, you could kind of, enjoy that
Kind of
version.
understand how it came together, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I do put a lot of thought into my intros and outros.
Okay. Well, and you mentioned remixing a little bit earlier, and that's something I always like to talk to DJs about, is how remixing a song versus creating your original content, the kind of the process, how that's different for you.
Hmm. Well, actually, that process to me is I try my best to create a remix like I'm creating an original. I never really want the remix vocal to sound like a remix, and that's a hard thing that I always battle every remix I do. It's, how do I, because I'm so used to the original that I have to try to like erase that from my brain. And that I find to be very hard, especially with some of the great records that I've remixed, like, Lady Gaga, for instance, and stuff like that. So that definitely is a hard task, but I like to think I kind of create an original concept around it with my remix.
Well, and you also have some of your songs that get remixed as well. What's it like to listen to? Is there anything you glean from listening to a remix of your own songs?
Oh, dude, it's so awesome listening to it. Like, to hear someone else's take on it, it's like, it's like a breath of fresh air to me, because how many hours have I been with the original record, listening, car tests, this test, and, is this bass line good, or is this chord good? And going so forensically into a record sometimes that you're like so married to it that hearing someone else's take, it's like, wow, that was a good idea. Why didn't I think of that? So
and there was one person specifically that I wanted to talk about too. It's Joseph Devine, because you do a lot of work with him, or have. What did you enjoy, or do you enjoy most about working with him?
Well, we were younger at the time, and we were just both two kids from the neighborhood and found a common interest. And I think that there was some sort of innocence in it, and that's what the most fun part about it was. And then we kind of took our own separate paths, but that was definitely a fun time in my life, where we were, together in the studio,
Well, and what would you have done, just kind of thinking, what would you have done? Because I know you got started, I think you started performing in clubs, as a teenager.
Yeah.
Was there ever a thought of doing something else, or was it always music?
No. And I know a lot of people answer like that, but like, for me, it was like, there's nothing that makes me feel this, I guess the only way I could associate it maybe is like meeting that true love of, that some people get to meet in their life. And, that's what it was for me. It was just like, okay, no, I'm sold. That's it. I'm handcuffed to this now. I never once actually even thought of another career path. It's crazy.
So if you were going to predict where you would have ended up if you hadn't gone the music way, do you have any idea?
Yeah, I would have been a detective. Because I seek truth, and I like dissecting things and figuring equations out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I only have a couple other things I wanted to talk about. And the big thing is, what's coming up next? I know you talked earlier on about there are some things you're ready to release. Is there anything you could tease, anything that's coming soon?
I have a new record coming out scheduled, but it always could get pushed, that I'm super excited about, because there's going to be a whole campaign around it, and for everyone to be involved with the song in some capacity. So we're right now with the team building a whole campaign around it. So we're trying to, meet the deadlines. It's a lot, because a lot goes into just a song now these days. And, I'm trying to create an experience when you're listening to my records, so that should be coming out in the next month or two, hopefully, fingers crossed. I can't really disclose it yet. The label will get mad at me spinning with,
No worries.
Yeah. So, and plus it's a surprise factor, because, it's more exciting. I'm going to put out a few teasers, and, it'll be fun.
And do you have any plans to get back in touring soon? I know slowly things are starting to come back.
I know, it's like up and down over here though, dude. It's like they want to like lock down, then come back, and then go to this. Oh, everything's good. Oh, no, wait, backwards. So
is the city still kind of empty?
Yeah, Yeah, it's picking up again, but it's
Mhm.
a slow process. So I can't really answer the tour thing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back up on tour, but it's just like, oh man, I can't wait until it's just fully normal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's all right though, because it'll come back bigger and better.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk today. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, that was Lodato on WolfBytes Open Mic. Be sure to give us a like and follow us